All right, you guys, welcome to Boss Bitch Radio. I'm here today with my lovely co-hostess,
Amanda Glitters.
It's been a minute.
Did you miss me?
I missed you.
I'm here.
You just told me I've been interviewing nice people, so I'm nervous today because you're not going to be nice.
I mean,
you're going to razz me.
I have to razz you.
You're going to razz me.
Nobody else razzes you.
You're right.
Well,
we have a couple people.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the reason why you're here today is because we are going to talk about muscle building myths
And fat loss.
myths.
Mythbusters edition.
Mythbusters. Yeah, we are the Mythbusters today. If you've never seen that show, you need to.
You would probably have to find it on YouTube. I don't believe it plays anymore.
So we are going to get into some common myths and misconceptions about building muscle and losing fat. If you don't already know, I'm an IFBB Pro. I've competed 16 times. I'm a competition coach. I have a studio. Amanda is also an athlete, competitor, personal trainer, and coach as well on the team. So we do this shit for a living, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
Did I miss anything with your
No.
street cred? I just that just riffed, you know?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay. So we're going to get into some myths. And why this is important is because we still hear this to
All the
this
time.
day. And it's just a lot of misinformation that's been given over the years. I think, media has something to do with it for sure. And honestly, like old school ways of doing things.
I've literally heard some of these this week, and it's only Wednesday.
Oh, I love that.
I just want to say that right now.
When we get to the one, you got to tell me what the story is. And then at the end of this episode, stick around. We are going to have a freebie download for you. So
Ooh.
it's going to be a good one. All right. I'm going to tell you how to do that at the end. So stick around so you can find out. Now, first one. This is probably the myth we hear the most when it comes to women wanting to change the shape of their body.
I heard this one today.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
And it was more or less not the person that I was talking to that said it, but it was the person that they have like a younger daughter. So the question was, what is the age limit of letting people come into the studio? And I said, oh, blah, blah, blah. You got to ask the studio, but technically it's 18. Yeah. 18. So in that, it's like she said, well, my daughter, she's only 16. She's very thin and she thinks that she's heavy and she wants to have more curves, but she doesn't want to lift weights because she doesn't want to look bulky.
Mm-hmm. So if you didn't catch that, the first myth is lifting weights will make you bulky. Yeah.
No.
Definitely not the truth.
I feel like we try to get big muscles and it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy. So the misconception, I think, is because this is my opinion. So just know that, okay?
Is that a disclaimer on every episode for us?
Pretty much.
This is our opinion.
These are our opinions and from our experiences, okay? In my opinion, the reason why I believe that people think this or women think this in general or specifically is because when people started weight training way back in the day, it was mainly men.
Yeah.
And they were looking muscular and like all the, they were getting big and bulky, right? And I think it scared off women from actually trying weightlifting because they saw how men looked and that's what men did. Right. And I know that I'm like stereotyping here, but that is honestly my perception of it.
I feel like that really is a thing though. I think people, especially women, they're always wanting to be smaller. And the only thing that they think about when getting smaller is either going in a diet or doing a shit ton of cardio.
Yes.
Not lifting weights, which is highly wrong.
Right. It is very wrong.
So wrong.
Well, I truly believe that's a big piece of it because I have heard many times, I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to look like a man. And that to me is that we associate weightlifting with manliness.
Muscle.
Right?
Muscle.
And man muscle. That is the furthest thing from the truth. Okay. Yes, maybe our male counterparts figured that out sooner than we did in terms of changing their body with weight training. But what women need to understand is, one, naturally, we do not carry the levels of testosterone that men do. So it's not that easy for us to put on muscle. It's not as easy as it is for men. They have a lot more testosterone and male hormones running through their bodies. So there's that aspect of it. And then also, it doesn't just make you bulky without you overeating and putting fat over the muscle. And that makes it look bulky.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, totally. I think that's the thing of what people think. They're like, okay, well, if I put on more muscle, I'm going to look bulky. But in reality, what happens is it's not the muscle that's bulky. The muscle is like the good part. That's the inside.
Lean, tight part.
That's what you want. The thing is when you start to look bulky, it's because you're overeating most likely in calories and you're putting fat on top of those muscles. So that's why if you want to talk about somebody that's in prep or not in prep, like we technically have about the same amount of muscle in prep and out of prep, especially if you do it right or you have more. But the problem is we look bigger because there's fat over the muscle. It's not that your muscle is so big that you're getting big and bulky.
Yes, which leads us to myth number 2. And I think that they're intertwined because then we usually get a backup kind of concern that is a myth, which is you should lose weight before you start weight training, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, well, okay, so I can hear people already. Okay, well, if you're telling me that lifting weights doesn't make me bulky, but having too much fat over my muscles makes me look bulky, then maybe I need to lose weight before I start weight training. Please do not do that. Okay?
I am the poster child that is not true. When I started, I was almost 280 pounds. It was 2 days into the gym. I was on the treadmill or the elliptical. I think the first day it was the elliptical. The second day I was on the treadmill when one of the trainers came up and talked to me and was like, hey, do you want to try this? And I'm like, sure, right. If it's free, it's for me, right? So I hopped in there, had a little training session. Basically, what I did was weightlifted 3 days a week for an hour with my trainer. And then the more I learned, the more I started to train on my own. Or when I was not ready, I was taking classes. But more or less in the way of lifting weights.
Yes.
It was not that I lost 30 pounds first, then I started weightlifting. I think that gives me a highly good reason to know that this is why I have a shape. And because I have muscle, as I was losing weight, I was growing muscle at the same time.
Yes. So it's important for you to take what Amanda just said to heart, because if, we have a lot of women that give us that objection. And I want them to make sure that they know that that is not how the body works. And to Amanda's point is she recomped her body. She had some body recomposition. And by that, she put on muscle. And by the nature of having more muscle, you burn more calories just walking around. Her body started to drop body fat too. I'm sure there was some dietary changes that eventually came for sure.
Right.
But as she was building muscle, her body was becoming more efficient at burning fat. And if you take anything away, if you don't take anything away, just at least take that one knowledge bomb nugget, is that you start weight training, you will improve your ability to burn fat and you will look leaner than somebody else who does not. Okay. So super important that you just kind of nix that myth. And a secondary, I know, issue sometimes to that is that sometimes women are self-conscious because they don't look the part coming into our gym.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that's like saying I should have nice teeth before I go to the dentist.
Right.
Get your ass here. We love you. We hug you. We coddle you, and make sure that you are drinking the purple Kool-Aid with all the other crazy girls in our studio who just support each other.
If you have a good trainer, it does not matter where you're at in your journey. You can be somebody that maybe needs to lose 100 pounds, somebody that needs to lose 300 pounds. I don't know. You can even be somebody that needs to gain weight. If your trainer is a good trainer, they're going to know how to train you and get you to where you need to be with the baby steps, and not being like, oh, Mrs. Jones, it's your first day today. Let's put you under a barbell and put 100 pounds on it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So if that's your trainer, turn around and run out the door
Yes.
right now.
Correct.
Run away.
All right.
And come find me.
Come find her. Okay. Next one is muscle weighs more than fat.
It does.
Not. Muscle and fat are two different substances or tissues in your body, right? Fat is more viscous and volumizing and takes up more space. Muscle is leaner, smoother, and more compact, right? Think about your, any shredded bodybuilder you've ever seen, right? Their muscles are popping. They look like an anatomy chart. When you cover that in body fat, that creates the bulky look or the, body
Right.
fat. But at the end of the day, a pound of muscle and a pound of fat weigh the exact same. They just take up different space. It's like saying a pound of a brick and a pound of feathers, right? Visually.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Good job. That was
Right.
great. I like that.
But it gives you the visual.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the thing is weight is weight. You can't change it. You don't get to like say, oh, well, this weighs 1 pound and this weighs 1 pound. No, it's always weight. So it's just the fact that muscle is tighter and leaner. And if you see fat, it's just a little bit more.
A little more jigga.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we already kind of covered this when we were talking about the fact that men build muscle much easier because of their testosterone, their male hormones. But we do hear this myth that people, I don't think they say, oh, it's easy to gain muscle. I think that they start weight training and they think it's going to come faster than it really does.
Right.
They're like, oh, I've been doing this for 3 months. I'm like, bitch. It's not that easy. It takes time.
Yes. Yeah. To that note, though, there is things that you can see in the first 3 months, not to mention newbie gains are amazing. So, like, if you are new, just do the things, okay? And keep doing the things and keep doing the things. Because in reality, this shouldn't be something that you're only going to do for 3 months. If you're doing that, you're just going to put yourself right back where you were.
Yes. This in order to maintain, and I think that's funny because I think somebody said to me, I've had multiple people say some kind of version of this. I don't know if you've heard this, where in the gym, they're like, okay, you can stop already. You win. Like you got all the muscles. I think you're good. I don't think you need to keep going.
I feel like I might have heard that before.
Yes. And it's funny because, they're just kind of being facetious a little bit, but if you want to maintain your shape, it's just like if you wanted to, with cardio, if you are doing cardio and you're using that as like your crutch for fat loss, that is the extreme of it where you have to keep compiling more. But with weight training, it's like you can't just put on the muscle and then just be like, all right, I got it. Cool. Now I'm going to now I'm done. Right. You have to maintain that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is funny.
I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to continue to see your shape.
Exactly. So I feel like I've heard this from clients because I do a glute camp. It's 6 weeks long. They see me for 2 times a week consistently. And they can tell, like when we take a little break for holidays and things like that, they're like, I need you back. I need the glute camp back. I can feel my butt. It's going down the back of my leg. And I'm like, okay, don't worry. It's coming. So that just goes to show, you have to keep doing it. Are you going to lose all of your muscle if you're not training all the days? No, you're going to keep
slower.
Yes.
It's a lot slower to come off than you losing your cardio.
Correct.
Endurance. Yeah.
I was breathing hard coming up the stairs.
Yeah. We were doing pretend stair mill right now. So I think we covered that one.
We did.
Pretty good. Yeah. Next one is that you need to bulk to gain muscle. And by bulk, that generally means in our world that you eat an excess of calories,
right,
to grow more muscle.
Correct.
For us females, not true. Okay. Now, again, there's going to be some outliers to this that are going to be an exception to the rule, right? That are super lean girls that just cannot gain weight.
Right.
It's very rare, but there are some of those unicorns running around. Okay. So we're not talking to them or you if you're one of those people. We're talking to
just normies.
Just
the
normies. Right. And you think like, oh, I got to eat a bunch of calories because I'm trying to put on muscle. We see this mainly with competitors in the off season who are like, oh, I'm on a bulk right now. And they're like 35, 40 pounds over their, stage weight. And that is absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah. You don't need that to be able to grow muscle.
No.
And by the way, you're making your next prep really hard. So
for sure. It's like, is it worth it to put on 30 pounds of weight and to possibly only reaped in like maybe 2 or 3 pounds of muscle? Because that's probably the reality of it. If you're training, if you're competing like within like a year, if you're taking like a year or something.
I think successful competitors are the ones that keep doing the things while they're not in prep. Like they consistently eat most of the things they would eat during prep. And then they're training, they're still doing a little bit of cardio just to kind of move that food around. And they're not getting way heavy outside of, their stage weight.
Yeah, that was something I've been telling a lot of my clients on their check-ins when I'm looking over their food logs, and y'all know who you are.
She's also talking about me.
But
hi.
But what I'm telling them is, in your off season, realistically, if you really want to do this shit, like bodybuilding and compete seriously and like potentially get a pro card someday, like your food in the off season the foods are the same.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It's just different.
It's just more
amounts.
of it. It's more of it.
Different amounts.
Right. And maybe like you have some different variety with like your carbs and things like that. But if you are doing strict hardcore contest prep and then you're like off like a train wreck, and then you get back into prep, and that to me is 100% unhealthy. If you are in the off season, just fucking off, not really doing your training, you're, skipping meals and you're eating fast food and shit like that. It's like, you're not really about it. I'm sorry. I'm calling folks out on that shit.
Of course. No, I agree.
Like there's no way to like,
I think there's a difference. There's a difference of this being a hobby, and there's a difference of this being something that you're really passionate about and that you really actually want to level up and get to that level of, IFBB Pro or whatever to kind of do that.
Yeah. Or even, winning amateur shows.
Right.
Okay. Next one is the myth that we hear, or I bet you have clients do this, because I've had clients do this to me in the studio, which I'm not going to lie, pisses me off a little bit, but let's dive in.
Okay. I'm excited now.
A lot of times people, mainly women, that's our demographic that we deal with.
Yes.
Think that high reps mean that you're like toning your muscle. And also like, it's good because you're like burning fat and stuff. So like, I'm saying like high reps is like anything beyond 15 reps is high reps in my book, in the bodybuilding world. Okay?
If you're doing more than 15 reps and there's not a reason, you can go heavier.
Definitely. And of course we can get into like the logistics of like your form needs to be on point and all those things, but we're just speaking very generally. Okay. The reason why this pisses me off in the studio, and it hasn't happened in quite some time. I've had probably 5 people do this to me in my personal training career. So it's not like it happens often.
Right.
But I will say, okay, here's what we're doing today. Here's the plan, blah, blah, blah. And then I turn around and Mrs. Jones is off fucking done doing some shit that I did not tell her to do. And last time I checked, I'm the trainer and she's paying me to tell her what she doesn't know to do.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that frustrates the fuck out of me. Have you ever had that happen?
What do you mean? That like they just decided to do a different workout? Or are they like doing things in between?
I'll go over there and I'm like, oh, you're still here? And then she'll go, oh yeah, I decided to do like 25 reps because I'm trying to just, get, I don't want to get bulky. And I'm like,
that happens.
What are you doing?
I mean, it's fine.
It's fine.
They don't know what they don't know.
No, but that is another myth.
Which is why we're here.
That is another myth. And the reason why is because if you are doing 30 reps, this is obviously, it depends obviously whatever body part you're on, but if you're able to do that many, you're not creating enough stimulus for growth. There might be enough to maybe maintain what you have going on, but again, it depends on how heavy and how light that weight is.
Right.
But it's the only way to create tone in your body when it comes to hypertrophy and bodybuilding is to lift weights that are continually challenging or rep schemes and things like that.
Right.
To then cause your body to grow more muscle. And that is what creates the tone when you drop body fat.
Because your muscles are ripping.
Because your muscles are, yes.
I love saying that.
They're bulging. Okay. All right. Anything to add to that?
No, I think you got it. I think it's good.
Okay. Let's stay on we're going to move on to some food myths or nutrition myths here in a second, but we have 2 more related to training. We were feeling very like ranty on training today. Okay. So the next one is, you want to check that one off?
Cardio is the best way to lose fat.
That's actually more of a diet one, but
well,
because the answer is diet and
correct,
not cardio,
but it's fine.
But it's still, an assumption that a method of training is going to make you lose fat.
I mean, if you're new here, we say you shouldn't be doing a shit ton of cardio. Now, when we see that, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing any cardio, okay? This is all going to depend on what your goals are, things like that. So that's very person specific, but cardio is not the best way to lose fat. I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, the best way to lose fat is to gain muscle and recomp your body.
Yes. And your diet is going to be the dial mover for most of that.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. Coming.
We'll come back
coming
to that.
soon.
We'll come back.
Yeah. So again, as to what she's saying is cardio is a great additional tool for you to lose fat, but there becomes a point of diminishing returns where how much more of that can you possibly do? Because your body is a very smart machine and it will adapt. And it's like, oh, okay, great. Perfect. We're getting efficient. Great. We're going to continue to get more efficient.
Right.
That is the magic that is your body. And that's why I'm like, you need to exercise. However, more cardio is going to just mean more fucking cardio.
Yeah. I have somebody that's like walking every day, like 30, 45 minutes to an hour. I'm like, okay, well, this is great. You're getting your steps in, but this is not counting as cardio anymore because this is your body's new norm.
Right.
This is where you live now.
Yes.
So it's not going to make any more stimulus than it already has been. So then we go to your diet.
Okay. So with, just to kind of wrap that up, it's definitely helpful. It's helpful. It's a tool, but we don't want you relying solely on that. It's great for heart health and all the other amazing health benefits. And I highly encourage you do it. I was actually talking to my coach today because I told him I need to get, and y'all know how I feel about cardio, okay? It's not my favorite, but I've grown to understand why I need it more and like rely on it for other reasons, right? It's like,
Then just weight loss.
oh, I'm not doing it for weight loss at all. I know that the reason why I'm doing it now is because my training is suffering because I'm not doing cardio.
You can't keep up.
No. So if you are finding that you are really struggling with your weight training and your recovery between sets is really shitty, where you're like having to take 2 to 3 minutes, when you're in bodybuilding, that's a long time. 2 to 3 minutes is more moving towards like powerlifting, resting for power and strength, where bodybuilding is a little bit different. So I'm like 3 minutes, I'm dying. And that's why when I'm with Casey, I am dripping. And I know that's when I need to do my cardio, because when you and I do it, I can pace myself, right? Like I just take my time. I'm like,
because you're by yourself.
If I'm by myself, or
I don't let you take your time.
No, you don't.
Excuse
You're kind
me.
of up my ass.
I'm like,
about
stop that.
Yeah. But to the point of this whole, cardio situation is, if you're weight training, it significantly helps with your weight training if you do cardio.
Yeah, if your cardiovascular health is really good, you're going to be able to lift more. You're going to be able to last longer. You're going to be able to do more reps, more sets, all of that.
And I honestly think it's uniquely tied to teaching you how to breathe properly when you're training too.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that is really
overlooked.
Yeah, 100%. You have to breathe. And I am the most annoying trainer with that, because
you so are.
I say it a lot.
I love that you do.
Yeah, I say it a lot, all the time.
Blow out. I hear you all the time.
Yes. Big inhale.
Yes. Constantly. Because it's important. If you're not bracing properly with your breath, you can get injured.
Yeah.
And also you can lift heavier if you are breathing properly.
Correct.
It's so important.
blow out when it's hard.
Yes.
Okay.
That was naughty.
Sorry.
Yes. All right. Next one is the myth that spot reducing is a thing.
Yeah. Can like this part right here?
Yes.
Can you get that part?
Can we do an exercise
Can you get
for
that part right there?
Oh yeah. Let me slap your hand when you're putting a cheeseburger in your mouth. That's what we're doing. Sorry. No, I'm just being an asshole. But you can't get a 6-pack by doing just crunches.
I'm going to tell you one thing right now.
Or abs.
Anybody who comes up to you and tells you, can we spot reduce this part? What I know is that is their most uncomfortable body part that they have. The problem is unfortunately in real life, that's going to be the last thing that's going to be changed.
Probably. It's usually the most stubborn
the most stubborn body part. Like my midsection is the most stubborn part of my body. That is like, I got to do all the things to make that thing flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to tape it in.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget about that.
Yes.
Don't forget that we have to tape in too. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So what you're seeing with bodybuilders, if that's your goal, like be realistic with yourself of what you have with your body and don't think that, you can even maybe look like somebody else. I think you need to really embrace how your body looks and where you're at and what you've changed so far and just be realistic and be happy with what your body can do.
Yes. So
that was my high horse on love yourself.
No, I mean, it's true, right? We get that all the time. I think this is another one of the top things I hear most often is like, oh, what about my abs? You know, what about my abs? And I'm like, okay, yeah, you should be doing core training, but I don't want to spend part of your hour, doing that when we have all these machines and things that you don't have access to. And at home, you get your ass on the floor and do your abs at home. It's not the best use of our time together. That's how I feel. Right. But we know that a lot of people aren't going to do that. So it's like, oh, how do I get rid of this muffin top? What exercises should I do that? I've had random people ask me in the gym and I'm like, I mean, it'll strengthen your abs, but it just depends on what you're eating and nobody wants to hear that.
No, nobody does.
All right. Well, let's move on to the nutrition myths. So we already talked about all the weight things, all those myths. And we have 3 that we hear quite often. So we're going to cover those. The first one being that eating carbs makes you fat or makes you gain weight.
No.
Carbs get such a bad rap, don't they?
I love carbs. Carbs, obviously, it's one of the good macros.
Yeah, it's the delicious macro.
It's the delicious macro.
Yeah.
However, you have to think like you need to put gas in your car, and your body is a car. Are you a BMW or are you a Pinto? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So carbs are not the enemy. It's the types of carbs that you're eating. And I think a lot of the times people are like, oh, I can't have that. I can't have this. But they'll go eat like a cookie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you think that is?
Yeah.
It's carbs.
Yes.
Anything with sugar is carbs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so good at nutrition labels right now. Like my daughter was saying, oh, this is this many carbs. And I go, oh, how many grams of sugar in it? I'm going to bet it's at least 3/4 of that because it was like gummy worms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like 22 carbs. And I was like, I'm going to guess that it's about 15 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
I was like off by 1 point.
It's a lot.
Great. Love that. So it is not carbs that are the enemy. It is the types of carbs and the amount of carbs that you are also eating. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really it.
The problem is carbs are good.
Carbs are delicious.
Yeah.
And most snacks are carbs.
Uh-huh.
So when you start working with a coach, I mean, I'm speaking for us at least, but I'm sure most bodybuilding or lifestyle transformation coaches out there, and they want to give you carbs and you freak out and you like, I can't have carbs. Obviously medical conditions are an exception, but
correct.
But you're like, oh my God, carbs. Oh my God, no, I'm going to gain weight. If you aren't used to eating single ingredient carbs, then you need to at least trust the process. Okay. And if you haven't ever like weighed your food and done all that too, like sometimes that's overwhelming for people. But even if we could just move you to eating single ingredient carbs,
mm-hmm.
There's only so much potatoes you're going to be able to eat before you're like, stuffed,
Not
right?
French fries.
Yes.
Not French fries.
And not potato chips.
Yeah.
Like potatoes. If I was like, okay, have 4 ounces of potatoes. That's a fucking lot of potatoes.
Well, potatoes are good.
Potatoes are delicious.
I mean, we love that.
Yes.
No, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do this post where I'm like in my cupboard, right? And I'm like thinking, okay, what am I going to have for a carb today? So I had 2 options, right? I had rice cakes, like the little mini bag that are like the cheddar ones.
Oh, I have those too.
And then luckily, I also had Pringles.
Oh,
cheddar as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, I have a bunch of people that live in my house that do not eat the stuff that I eat. So this is the stuff that they eat. So what I did is I pulled them out and I put them side to side, right? The rice cakes are 80 calories. Beautiful. Great. That's awesome. Love that. And the Pringles are 210 calories.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference in the fat was 14 grams
oh my gosh.
to 3 grams.
Wow.
So obviously the Pringles were 14 grams, not to mention it also has the carbs in it. So what I did is I swapped them out. Obviously I ate the rice cakes. So what that did was that was a better choice to have that same type of carb. However, it hit the spot and I didn't kill my macros.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good analogy.
I know.
I think we should do more of that on Instagram, like showing the difference.
You know, I
don't
like
buy that food, then I'll have to eat it.
Cute when I'm thinking like, oh, I should do this.
Yeah.
And then I get like, bird squirrel, and then I don't post it. So I bet you my phone is full of shit like that.
Probably. But another reason why people think it makes them gain weight is because carbs hold water. And so they absorb water. And I think I can't remember off the top of my head how many grams of water a carb holds. However, your body utilizes that.
I don't
right?
think I know that answer.
Yeah, your body will utilize that. So it's not what you think. It's not just going to sit as fat. If you are properly training, you're using that fuel through your training. And if you are eating within a caloric amount that would not cause you to gain weight, right?
Yes.
Then there should be no reason.
Because we're not bulking.
Yes, we're not bulking.
We're not bulking.
We're not bulking.
Ooh, I like this one.
Okay.
Eating late at night causes weight gain.
Yeah.
Hello, intermittent fasters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm not talking shit, but basically, calorie is a calorie. It doesn't matter when you eat it.
Yes. I think that's all we have to say.
I was like,
yeah. I mean, a calorie is a unit of measure. And if you are, I think some things that could affect that are not related to the actual food itself is that if you go straight to bed, your digestion is going to slow down a little bit. If you eat a little later than usual, and you wake up early, the scale could be affected from that.
I am the main person of that.
Yeah.
I literally weigh less in the middle of the day than I do in the morning because I wake up so early. But I also, I don't get home from work till like 8 some days. So that's when I'm eating dinner. So it's kind of out of my control. And I mean, we make it work.
Yeah. But it's again, there's some varying factors that can make the scale jump if you ate late at night. But it does not mean that you gained a pound of fat overnight like that.
Because you had more carbs at 9 instead of 7.
Right. If you are in that, like Amanda said, if you are in your calorie deficit or, whatever your goals are, there shouldn't be a reason that has happened.
No.
So look at some other potential reasons, Okay. And the last one is skipping meals helps with weight loss. That's another myth we hear often.
It might for a minute.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can lump this in with intermittent fasting too, I suppose, a little bit, because I think I don't want to say it's the same mentality, but you do kind of have
skip
some
meals.
Yeah, you
to
do.
Sit in this window, right?
But you have people that truly believe that that's,
some people say,
all.
breakfast you shouldn't have breakfast in the morning, blah, 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 all of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
here's my 2 cents. I think you need to eat when you're hungry, but when you are trying to build muscle, you need a little bit of an influx.
Yeah.
and I'm not saying bulking here, but you need to not be eating.
You need to not really be hungry.
Yeah.
Like,
You need
the hungry feeling
yes.
should be very far and few between, or you should be hungry as it is next meal time.
Right. So I think, eat when you're hungry, but skipping meals just to be like, oh, I'm just going to skip meals because I'm trying to lose some weight, if that's the purpose,
right,
can lead to disaster.
You're going to drive your car right into the grocery store.
Yes. Yes. Multiple reasons psychologically, right?
Right.
Like for that component of it.
Like that's not self-care. That's not nice.
But also too, from a physiological response.
Your body's in fight or flight because you're not feeding it.
Yeah. And your blood sugar is going to dip. You're going to probably have some mood swings. You're going to be cranky and tired and, all these things. I think there is some merit to fasting occasionally, like for digestion.
Insides.
Yeah. And just to give your body a break from digestion. But I think just the more and more that I see and hear, and I have experience. Remember, I did intermittent. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember that
intermittent fasting for a really long time. It's showing that it's affecting women's hormones.
Yeah, I don't think it did anything for you, really.
It didn't.
No,
but I was battling my own food demons,
right?
And that was part of how I could set a rule and just follow it.
Right.
Like I'm not eating until 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. And then I would just be like, I would eat a ton of food.
Right.
And I never lost weight because I also wasn't trying to be in a deficit while I was intermittent fasting.
Well, that's the thing too, is that a lot of the times people like, oh, I'm intermittent fasting. But in reality, they don't know how many calories they're intaking in that window. And that is why it doesn't always work for people, because you're not really doing the things you're supposed to. Calories in, calories out. Depends on what your goals are. But if you're trying to lose weight, you still need to be in a deficit. If you're trying to gain muscle, you need to be at maintenance or above that, depending on where you're comfortable with your fat on your body.
So don't skip meals.
Yeah, feed yourself.
Feed yourself.
Just not too much.
I think we get so just overwhelmed and inundated with the information that's out there these days, right? Like on Google and infomercials and your latest Instagram influencer, like what they're pushing, right? It's like you just need somebody to guide you and stop just trying a bunch of dumb shit.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not working, that you stick to for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
The thing is that there's no special anything. It's literally eat healthy and move your body.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we did a great job on busting these myths. That was kind of fun.
It was fun.
We haven't talked shit about that kind of stuff for a long time. So that was really great. So hopefully this episode taught you something. I hope you learned a single little nugget of something with what we talked about, where maybe you thought one thing and you're like, oh. Okay.
Whatever you learned, I want you to put it in the comments.
Yes.
Put it in the comments below.
Put it in put it in the box. Put it in all right. Put it in the comments on, if you're watching us over on YouTube. Those of you that are listening, obviously you're listening, duh. But we have resuscitated my YouTube page, and this will be on video. So if you want to
do your cardio and watch our ding dong heads, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. We need to mention that at the beginning of the podcast next time. It's all good. Hey, we're new here, but
go watch it again. You might need to learn. Yes. Share it with a friend.
Share this episode with a friend. Yeah. All right. So if you have somebody who's maybe the person that does all the things that we're telling you not to do,
just slyly put this in their messenger box. Send them a DM.
Yeah. Like, hey, I heard this podcast today. It didn't make me think
really
of you.
Cool.
But yeah, anyways, that would be very helpful. We would love that if you would share the episode. And we have a freebie.
Oh,
we have a freebie.
What?
So if you want a free training program, make sure to find the link wherever you're listening to this. If you're on an Audible version, it is going to be in the show notes. If you're on the YouTubes, it's going to be in the description. There will be a link there for your freebie. It will be a full body workout, a 1-day full body workout PDF for you to download. Take it with you to the gym. Tag me over on socials that you did it, please. Yes, and thank you.
Yeah.
And let me know how it goes. And obviously,
leave us a 5-star rating.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.